Yields back, the chair is recognized. Mr. Hur, why did he do it? Why did Joe Biden, in your words, willfully retain and disclose classified materials? I mean, he knew the law. Been in office like 50 years.
This shit is getting hot.
5 decades in the United States Senate, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, 8 years as vice president. He got briefed every day as vice president. He's been in the Situation Room. In fact, you know he knew the rules because you said so on page 226. President Biden was deeply familiar with the measures taken to safeguard classified documents.
Would you be quiet? I'm getting tired of your negativity.
Well, I think I have a right to be negative. We're going to jail.
And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. Mr. Armstrong said this earlier. Joe Biden was deeply familiar with it. You're exactly right, because he told us when Jack Smith goes after President Trump, Joe Biden says, how could this happen? What data was in those documents that could compromise sources and methods? It's irresponsible.
Holy shit.
So Joe Biden knew the rules. You know he knew the rules. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. So, Mr. Hur, why did he break them?
Congressman, the conclusion as to exactly why the president did what he did is not one that we explicitly address in the report. The report explains my decision to the Attorney General that no criminal charges were warranted in this manner.
I think
says, don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
I think you did tell us. I think you told us, Mr. Hur. Page 231, you said this. President Biden had strong motivations. That's a key word. We're getting to motive now. President Biden had strong motivations to ignore the proper procedures for safeguarding the classified information in his notebooks.
That's horrible.
Why did he have strong motivations? Because, next word, because he decided months before leaving office to write a book. To write a book. That was his motive. He knew the rules. He broke them because he was writing a book. And you further say, and he began meeting with the ghostwriter while he was still vice president.
Oh, God, that was horrible.
There's the motive. Mr. Hur, how much did President Biden get paid for his book?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that information appears in the report.
It sure does. There's a dollar amount in there. You remember?
I don't. It may be $8 million.
$8 million.
That's a lot of high numbers that mean stuff.
Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules. Took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he did. He knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance. But you know what? It wasn't just the money. Joe Biden, here's this page 231, very next page. Joe Biden, in your report, Joe Biden viewed his notebooks as an irreplaceable, contemporaneous record of the most important moments of his vice presidency.
This ain't no joke. This is dead serious.
He'd written this all down for the book, for the $8 million. And the next thing you say in your report is, quote, such a record would buttress his legacy as a world leader. You know what this is? It wasn't just the money. It wasn't just $8 million. It was also his ego.
This is a very serious situation.
Pride and money is why he knowingly violated the rules. The oldest motives in the book, pride and money. You agree with that, Mr. Hur? You wrote it in your report.
That language, and it does appear in the report, and we did identify evidence supporting those assessments.
That's correct.
You also had another interesting statement in your report. You said Joe Biden, I want to make sure I get this right, viewed himself as a man of presidential timber. Remember that statement, Mr. Hur?
I believe that does appear in the report, at least in the executive summary.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is interesting, because here's the scary part. Page 200. I said this earlier in my opening statement. Page 200. Joe Biden, this is a quote, Joe Biden risked serious damage to America's national security when he shared information with his ghostwriter.
Oh, Sleepy Joe.
Shared it with his ghostwriter, the guy who was helping Joe Biden get $8 million. And oh, by the way, Mr. Hur, what did that ghostwriter do with the information Joe Biden shared with him on his laptop? What did he do after you were named special counsel?
You must answer when I speak to you.
Chairman, if you're referring to the audio recordings that Mr. Zwanitzer created of his conversations with
Exactly
Mr. Biden,
what I'm referring to.
He slid, if I remember correctly, he slid those files into his recycle bin on his computer.
This ain't no joke. This is dead serious.
Tried to destroy the evidence, didn't he?
Correct.
The very guy who was helping Joe Biden get the $8 million, Joe Biden had used the motive for Joe Biden to disclose classified information, to retain classified information, which he definitely knew was against the law. When you get named special counsel, what's that guy do? He destroys the evidence. That's the key takeaway in my mind. That's the key takeaway. I yield back. From, is it Mr. Raskin? Gentleman from...
Wow. Let's do that again. No.
43 Republican senators signed onto a letter opposing raising the debt ceiling without budget reforms, and 217 members in the House voted for that bill to raise the debt limit with cuts to spending. Does the White House consider all of those members to be dangerous MAGA Republican extremists?
Then check this out.
Do they understand what the cuts that they're voting for is going to do? That's the question. I mean, Republicans in Congress, in the House specifically, voted for cuts that's going to hurt American families.
Are you insane?
I mean, we can't say this enough. 22% cuts to veterans, healthcare, schools. That's what they voted for. That's what, and this is not, okay, but this is not just, this is their constituents. This is what they voted for.
She's 21 and dumb as a Brillo pen. Constituents that they're voting on behalf of have said that they're concerned about their retirements, about the effects of inflation, and those members represent more than half of the country in the House. I mean, that's the majority of districts in the country, that they're voting on behalf of those constituents who are expressing concern about where the economy is. So I guess, how can the White House continue to use messaging calling this the Default on America Act and paint this legislation in such a way without having a conversation about the budget when you've got half the country saying that they want that conversation?
Okay, there's no way to answer that and not get in trouble. Change the subject.
So House Republicans are threatening a first ever default. They want the president to agree on a plan in its entirety that includes cuts to programs that are incredibly important for the American family.
That's bullshit.
Because they want to hold the American economy hostage. Because that's what they're saying that they want to do by threatening a default.
Their bill would raise the debt limit. It passed a bill to raise the debt limit. So
and I hear you, but they are connecting passing whatever this debt limit to cuts, 22% cuts.
I stood up for you, and you lied to me. You liar!
To veterans, to seniors. That's what they are threatening. Cuts to our schools. That's what that's what is connecting. That's what their budget plan is.
The bill doesn't have any appropriations in it, actually, and the speaker has, ruled out a number of those things, including defense, veterans benefits, senior entitlement programs. I mean, you've had Mitt Romney saying that there has to be a conversation here. Is he a MAGA Republican extremist?
He says, don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
What I'm saying is House Republicans have been very clear. They voted on a bill that's going to cut programs that are very important to American families. Law enforcement, cutting programs to law enforcement, cutting program to veteran care, cutting program to our school system. That's what Republicans have voted on.
You liar!
So those are extreme. Those are very extreme. These are things that the American people don't want. Just look at 2022, what they voted for. They voted for to protect their retirement accounts. That's what the American people want to see. And so they're connecting those two. They want the president to agree on its entire agenda of an extreme budget. It is an extreme budget.
That is a fucking lie. I mean, where's the follow-up question? This is disinformation.
Something that Americans do not want. And that's something for them to answer to. This is also speaking to their constituents when they're voting for something like that. And so look, the president put forth a budget where it also cut spending, but not hurting American families.
A damn liar, man. That's not true.
We're trying to make sure that we lower the deficit by saying that we're going to cut the deficit by $3 trillion over 10 years. But he put forth something that is actually responsible. Remember, show me your value. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value.
You serious?
That's what the president said. They showed their value by showing cutting veterans program, cutting school programs, cutting health care, 22%. That's what they value. That's something that they have to answer to the American people about. Go ahead, Ed.
Wow. Let's do that again. No.
Cancellation being tied to the pandemic and that being a national emergency. But the administration argued in court that the pandemic is over at the southern border to lift Title 42. It's so over that the government's going to stop buying vaccines in the fall and shift to the private sector. So how is this a national emergency?
Check this out.
How's COVID a national emergency when it comes to student debt?
So it's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it. Look, we use the HEROES Act because there are going to be some people, when we lift the pause, that's still going to suffer. They're still going to have a little bit of a hard time.
That's a lie.
And so that's one of the reasons that we made this decision, because as we're lifting up the pause, yes, some folks having not to pay for 2 years has been helpful to them, and were able to save, and are probably going to be able to pay those monthly payments. But there's going to be some folks who are going to have a hard time.
The deception, the betrayal, man, you deceived me.
Because they're just in a different bracket, right? They've probably had a hard time before. We have to remember this is a system. So he announced the pause, lifting up the pause. He announced the $10,000 and up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients who, as I said, many of them have a household nearly making $60,000, and half of the Pell Grant recipients are $30,000 a year household.
She just lies and lies.
And so the other piece of that is a reform, right? Reforming the system as well, so we can help nurses, so we can help construction workers, so we can help firefighters, and making sure that their payment are cut in half as well. Because remember, these are some of our first respondents, right, who also suffered so much from the past 2 years.
Wait, what the hell are you talking about?
So he wanted to make sure he gave them a little bit of relief, understanding that some folks are just going to have a little bit of a harder time, even though we're coming out of a pandemic and the economy has been turned back on because of the work that this president has done.
Really?
That was another thing I was going to mention. I mean, the president often says that we're not in a recession because we've got, record job market, record low unemployment, businesses investing in America at record rates. So why are those appropriate conditions to forgive student debt?
Well, thank you for laying out all the work that the president has done. That is 1,000% correct. But we've also said that we know that some people are still suffering. You've heard us say that too. Yes, the economy can be turned back on, and we've created, to what you've just laid out, nearly 10 million new jobs.
That is a fucking lie. I mean, where's the follow-up question? This is disinformation.
Since the president took office, that matters. The economy is stronger than it's been in some time. And we have said that, you've heard the president say that, there's still some folks who need a little bit more help. And this is what the president is trying to do. Both can be true. It's not one or the other.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Washington Post editorial board says that
and then I'm going to go to the back because we're running out of time.
Doesn't help those people, though, that it takes money from the broader tax base, mostly made up of workers who didn't go to college, to subsidize education debt of people with valuable degrees. So sort of rebutting what you had just said. But Beyond that, there are critics who are saying that this is not about the pandemic, it's not about those conditions, that this is about getting people to vote ahead of the midterms, and that the real national emergency is Democrats in the midterm elections.
Well, I mean...
Okay, there's no way to answer that and not get in trouble. Change the subject.
I disagree with everything that you just laid out. I was just asked a question by some Democrats who are saying that they're not happy with this, right? Who are criticizing this. And we have said we're not going to make everybody happy. And so if you're not making everybody happy, you cannot say that, that what you just laid out is certainly cannot be the case either.
I didn't understand a one word you said.
Look, here's what I will say, and this is just what we have laid out about this program. This is historical, what we're doing. It has never been done before. When you look at the system is broken.
Why do you lie?
And we're trying to reform it so that we can help people who really need it. The way that this president has done this, he's done it in a targeted way, so it helps. It doesn't give a penny to anybody making more than 120. Let me finish.
Let's just calm down. I'm sure we can settle this peacefully.
More than 125,000. And if you look at the Pell Grant recipients, we're talking about people, again, and I've said this multiple times in this briefing room today, and we said it multiple times yesterday, $60,000 household. We're talking about $60,000 household. And cut in half, right? There are people we're talking about people, Pell Grant recipients that are at $30,000 households. I mean, that's the people that we are going to help. Again,
That's bullshit.
Nurses, construction workers. When you think about the reform, I mean, we've just gone back. You've made your point. I've made my point. I'm going to move on because we are actually running out of time.
You serious? Wow. Let's do that again. No.